You say, Kyle, how do I know God loves me? I just don't feel like God loves me. How can we be sure that God, I know God loves, but how can I know that God loves me? Answer, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him will not perish, but have everlasting life. And when John 3:16 says that God so loved, it doesn't mean like God so loved, God loved very, very, very much. It means in this way. God loved thusly. How did God love us? Here's how we know that God the Father loved us. He sent his Son to die for us. If you're ever doubting, I don't know if God loves me, look at the cross. He died for you. How could he not love you? God loved the world by sending his Son to come and die for us. And it's not like God needed us. Again, God is sufficient, perfect love within the triune Godhead. And his love is so much different than those broken cisterns we looked at. See, God's not dying for us so we can return the favor and have a balanced account. Think about it. God's done everything for us. His ledger is totally full. Sometimes people ask, what do I bring to my salvation? Answer, your sin. That's what you get to bring to your salvation. We deserve death and hell. God made us. He blessed us, and instead we cursed him. God did not love us because he needs us to use us for some reason. God is omnipotent. He's omniscient. I love Psalm 50. And God confronts the worshipers, and he says, you think I really need your sacrifices that you get so worked up about? Yes, I know I require them, but you put way too much emphasis on this instead of rightly living. I'm the God of 1,000 hills. All those cattle and bulls you sacrifice, guess what? I own them. And when I get hungry, I don't call you up. I don't need your help. God needs nothing from us. You see, we worship God not because God needs our worship, but because we need to worship God. Life is found within the worship of God, since God is the author of life itself. God doesn't need us to serve him. God doesn't love us because we're beautiful. We may think we're beautiful as we compare ourselves to others, but don't forget, human being, you were created out of the dust. We're just putting makeup on dust. And one day we're going to go back to being dust, unless the Lord comes back before we die. God is the one who is truly beautiful. He dwells in light unapproachable. We're the ones who are undeserving and ugly and unworthy. But even though we were ugly and unworthy, what does the Bible say? For while we were still weak, at the right time Christ died for the ungodly. One will scarcely die for a righteous person, though perhaps for a good person one would dare even to die. But God shows his love. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. You think you're unlovely? You think you're not beautiful enough? Guess what? It doesn't matter. Christ died for us while we were still unlovely, while we were still his enemies, while we were still unworthy. God doesn't love us because of the approval of men. God has existed long before men ever walked the earth. He does not live for our approval. Just as Jesus came to save us, he did not receive the praise of men when he came. What did he receive? He received whips and scoffing, spit upon his face. God does not need us to earn love. He already possesses love. You see, God is fundamentally different than all of those broken cisterns we looked at earlier. God does not exist for self, or God's love does not exist for self, but it overflows from self. He's so good, so sufficient in his loving relationship with the Trinity that it pours out in abundance upon mankind. God's love is not a cistern. It is streams of an eternal fountain of living water.